My family used to tell me over and over that I was too sensitive, too easily shaken by everything around me. They stopped saying it the moment the sheriff appeared on their front porch holding official papers with my name printed across them. There was no shouting and no warning beforehand, just the quiet sound of their reality splintering as they stared at me in disbelief, as if I had rewritten the rules of our family overnight. I didn't argue with them or attempt to ease their shock. I simply stepped aside and allowed the consequences to unfold. All of this traced back to 7 days earlier at the Boise airport, when I finally understood exactly what they thought of me, one canceled plane ticket and 2 text messages being all it took. The moment I read those messages, the balance of our family shifted forever. Before going any further, please tap the like button and share where you're listening from right now. If your relatives have ever crossed a line, feel free to talk about it below so we can remind each other that none of us are alone in experiences like this. If you had known me years ago, you probably would have assumed I came from a lively, happy family, the kind that squeezes into restaurant booths on Sunday mornings. People who met me often commented on my gentle demeanor and assumed my childhood was full of warmth and affection. I never corrected them, because that was far easier than explaining the truth. My parents valued control far more than they ever valued me. Growing up, my mother treated my older sister Sloane like a rare collector's item. Sloane got the newest clothes, a carefully decorated bedroom, and endless framed photos displayed throughout the house. My role consisted of lectures about gratitude, wearing hand-me-downs from neighbors, and sitting on the floor during holidays because the chairs were saved for guests. My father wasn't the one who delivered the sharpest blows, but he was always close enough to profit from them. He would smirk, brush things off, or claim he hadn't heard the comments that cut the deepest, and that silence was his way of taking their side. By the time I left for college, I had already been thrown out of that house twice. The first time was for speaking back, and the second happened because Sloane decided she didn't want to share the bathroom anymore. Winters around Boise feel very different when you're 17 and standing outside with nothing but a garbage bag holding your belongings. Living through that taught me something vital. If I wanted safety, I had to build it myself. So I did quietly. I worked nonstop while studying, accepted every unpleasant internship I could find, and spent long nights in a campus library that smelled like worn carpet and burnt microwave popcorn, teaching myself financial planning. Years later, when I finally moved into my modest Lakeview apartment, it wasn't extravagant, but it was mine. The concierge knew my name. My 6-year-old son Miles, who was shy and soft-spoken, finally had his own bedroom where no one told him to stay out of the way. He is the only person in my life who never made me feel like I took up too much space. My parents never understood that my distance was about survival, not defiance. Even after becoming a financial consultant, buying my condo, and creating a life from nothing, they still treated me like the extra child. Sloane remained the golden one, the flawless daughter with a perfect marriage, the curated social media presence, and the family who bent themselves to keep her happy. That's why, when I saved up for a short trip, a small reward for myself, I told no one. Not my mother, not my father, not even Sloane. I wanted a few quiet days where no one could reach me, demand anything, or tear me down. But in my family, secrets never last long. The moment my mother found out I planned to leave town, everything started unraveling. The morning of my departure felt unusually calm, the kind of stillness that makes you believe the universe might finally be giving you a break. I left my condo early, kissed Miles goodbye, and promised to bring him something small from the airport shop. He waved from the doorway, his hair still tousled from sleep. For the first time in weeks, I allowed myself to truly breathe. Boise Airport looked exactly as you'd expect, a mix of rolling suitcases, drifting coffee steam, and half-awake travelers. I blended in easily with my jeans, long coat, and tie-back hair. Nothing about me hinted that within minutes, everything I believed about my family would be destroyed. At the check-in counter, I handed over my ID and confirmation number, already picturing the relief of switching my phone off once I boarded. The agent scanned my ticket, paused, then scanned it again. Her brow creased in a way I recognized instantly as concern rather than confusion. "I just need to check something," she said quietly, typing fast. A tight knot formed under my ribs. "Is something wrong?" I asked. She turned the screen toward me carefully. "Your ticket shows as canceled. The refund went through an hour ago." The word canceled hit me like a sudden blow. That can't be right, I said. I didn't cancel anything. The refund was sent to a card ending in, she hesitated, then finished, 4401. My stomach dropped because I knew immediately whose card that was. My mother's. I thanked the agent and stepped away, the terminal suddenly louder, brighter, and more unforgiving. As soon as I unlocked my phone, it vibrated. A message preview from my mother appeared. Have fun walking home. Loser. No joke, no emoji, just that one word, sharp and cruel. Another message followed instantly from my father. Thought you lived poor. Take a bus like you should. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. People moved past me in a steady rush, and for a moment I couldn't tell if I was standing still or completely drowning. It wasn't really about the canceled trip, or even the insults. It was the clarity they brought with them. The realization that my parents didn't merely see me as a burden, they enjoyed it. They needed me small, diminished, and unimportant. I walked out of the terminal into the cold air, not knowing where I was going, only knowing I couldn't stay there another second. My hands trembled as I opened a rideshare app, but before I could finish typing my destination, a small white sedan pulled up beside me. The driver leaned across the passenger seat. Are you all right? You look like someone just dropped a piano on your whole day, he said. I let out a sound that was almost a laugh, close enough to a text message. He nodded, the kind of knowing gesture that comes from seeing enough of life to read between the lines. Get in. My shift's technically over, but you look like you urgently need to be somewhere else. I slid into the passenger seat without hesitation. The car smelled faintly of pine and aged leather. He introduced himself as Leonard, a part-time driver and lifelong Boise resident, and then simply listened. No judgment, no interruptions. I found myself recounting the canceled ticket, the messages, and the years of enduring quiet humiliation. I should have screamed back at them, but I hadn't. When Leonard finally parked near a quiet municipal park, he rested his hands on the steering wheel. You know, he said softly, people often disguise cruelty as affection. It never makes it true. I stared through the windshield at the winter daylight filtering through bare tree branches. I pulled out my phone again, but this time not to reread the messages. I opened a file I'd kept hidden for years, labeled options, investments, payments, trust, deed, containing documentation of every month my parents had been late on the rental payments for the house they didn't even realize I owned. For the first time, I whispered to myself, the anger isn't destroying me. It's refining me. By the time Leonard dropped me near my building, the cold had sharpened, the kind that brings absolute clarity. I thanked him, assured him I'd be fine, and walked toward the entrance with the calm composure of someone whose mind had finally found stillness. My apartment lobby was quiet and warm, softly humming with the heater. Entering felt like stepping into another world, one where I didn't need to shrink to make anyone else comfortable. I took off my coat, sat at the kitchen island, and opened my laptop. The file named Options sat quietly, a record of achievements my family had never cared to notice. I double-clicked it, and instantly the screen filled with years of papers, investment summaries, property payments, and the official trust deed listing me as the legal owner of the house my parents had occupied for nearly 2 years. I scrolled slowly, absorbing the life I had built in silence while they dismissed my existence. Every document confirmed I had accomplished something extraordinary without their approval. They assumed my frugality, an older car, simple clothing, was all there was to me. They never suspected I kept my life private precisely to shield it from them. Yet the airport texts revealed one brutal truth. Protecting myself was no longer enough. I had to protect my son, Miles. I had to stop pretending their cruelty could be outgrown. Unwanted memories surfaced sharply. Sloane pushing me out on a freezing night because her boyfriend didn't want people around. My mother telling me to stop being so dramatic. My father handing Sloane cash on her college move-in day while lecturing me on earning things the hard way. All of it merged into a steady truth. I could no longer allow them to carve pieces of me away and still call it family. I opened another folder, a series of audio clips I had accidentally recorded when last visiting to drop off a utility bill. I had hidden a small baby monitor in my purse, not expecting to capture anything, but as I played the first clip, their voices filled my kitchen. She thinks she's better than us, my mother said. Just cancel the flight. That'll teach her a lesson. She can ride the bus, my father added. She always pretends she's struggling. Maybe she should actually struggle for once. Their laughter was casual, light, like discussing inconveniencing a stranger rather than their own daughter. I leaned back, letting the anger settle into a cold, focused clarity. I wouldn't fight them with insults or cruelty. Instead, I would use the one thing they had always underestimated about me: preparation. By mid-afternoon, I had drafted 3 eviction notices, one for each adult in the property. I meticulously reviewed leases, payment records, and violation documentation, every signature they had ever carelessly added. The notices were flawless. As the sun sank behind the lake outside my window, casting gentle rose and gold light, I slipped the envelopes into a plain container. My hands were steady. For years, they had called me too pliable, too reserved, too willing to overlook things. Perhaps they were right, but softness is not weakness when it finally turns inward to protect itself. I placed the envelopes on the counter, exhaled deeply, and whispered to the empty room, I am not returning as their daughter. I am returning as their landlord. 3 days after the airport incident, I approached my parents' walkway. The house looked familiar but neglected, the lawn unkempt, the porch light flickering. Sloane's SUV was crooked in the driveway, typical. I tightened my coat and entered without knocking. The familiar smells of lemon cleaner and stale coffee hit me. My mother sat on the couch, scrolling her phone. My father was making a sandwich. Sloane was at the island filing her nails, bored. My mother looked up first. Why are you here? She demanded. No greeting, just irritation. My father ignored me. Shouldn't you be sulking? Heard your little trip failed, he said. Sloane smirked. Yeah, figured you'd still be crying at the terminal. Guess the charity plane waited. Their light, careless laughter filled the room. If they had looked closely, they would have noticed something different about me. My shoulders weren't hunched. My voice was steady. I wasn't a guest anymore. I placed my bag down, pulled out the plain envelope, and set it in front of Sloane. What is it? She asked. Your notice, I said simply. All of yours, my mother snorted. Notice for what? An eviction, I said. Silence settled as I placed 3 papers on the counter. My father stepped forward, yanking one off the refrigerator. You don't own this house. Oh, I do, I replied, pulling out the trust deed. You signed a lease 2 years ago with Willow Creek Trust. My mother folded her arms. We thought that was just a management company. It is, I confirmed. Mine. My father's face darkened. This is absurd. You can't evict your own family. I tilted my head. You already did twice before I turned 20. Sloane rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic. You don't have money to own a house. Interesting theory, I said. The payments, bills, and your signed lease say otherwise. My mother stepped closer, voice rising. This is a joke. We raised you. No, I said calmly. You controlled me. You drained me. You punished me for having a life you didn't approve of. My father threw the notice down. You don't have grounds. I pressed play on my phone. Their voices filled the kitchen. Mom's voice. Cancel it. Teach her a lesson. Dad's voice. She can take the bus. She's always dramatic. Laughter followed. Sloane stiffened. You recorded us. Yes, I said. I recorded tenants who violated their lease and used emotional abuse. My mother's face turned pale. Turn that off. Sloane slammed the counter. You can't kick us out. We're family. Exactly, I said. A family you prioritized over Miles when you made him sit on the floor last Christmas. Sloane opened her mouth to speak, but my phone buzzed. A payment notification appeared. Payment received from Sloane Baxter. She jumped forward. You said the rent was late. It was, unless you apologized for laughing when I fell down the stairs carrying gifts for your children. Her jaw tightened. You're unbelievable. No, I said softly. I am consistent. My father tried again. Where do you expect us to go? I gave you 60 days notice on paper, I said. You ignored it. You're 3 months behind and sent those texts. I met his eyes. You're punishing us for one joke. Sloane snapped. That wasn't a joke, I said. It was a confession. My mother grabbed the counter, panic overtaking regret. Mia, be reasonable. Reasonable. You canceled my ticket, called me a loser, told me to walk home, and enjoyed it. My father's voice cracked. "You're really doing this?" I opened the envelope one last time, placing the final sheet in the center. Their faces went pale. It was the formal notice of enforcement, the document allowing the sheriff to act. "This is already filed. You have 3 days." My mother shook her head, whispering, "We didn't mean to hurt you." "Yes," I said quietly. "You did. You just never expected consequences." Sloan looked around, suddenly small. "What are you trying to prove?" "That I matter," I said, "and that Miles deserves better than watching his mother treated like an unpaid servant." My father threw his hands up. "Unbelievable." I picked up my bag. 3 days. The sheriff handles the rest. As I stepped onto the porch, I heard my mother whisper, "What happened to you?" I paused, no longer begging for a seat at a table I paid for. I walked away, leaving them frozen in the doorway. 3 days passed quickly. Thursday morning, a sheriff's car arrived. My parents stood on the porch with half-packed boxes, faces tight with disbelief. Sloan was gone, having left the night before after arguing with her husband about money. The sheriff calmly guided them through the process. No yelling, just the slow, inevitable unraveling. My mother tried once more, reaching for my arm. "Mia," she whispered, "we're still your parents." I stepped back. "I'm still the daughter you never protected." She looked at the house she thought she would keep forever. When the process was complete, I handed the sheriff a sealed envelope. Inside was a photo of Miles and me smiling. On the back, "This is the family I choose." That evening, driving back, the lake outside my window was still and bright, reflecting years of hard-won peace. My phone buzzed once from Sloan, but I didn't open it. The airport, the insults, everything had led me here, to the moment I stopped letting their family define my worth. Miles ran to the door, arms wide, sure of me in a way my parents never were. That was enough. If you've ever had to reclaim your peace from those who should have protected it, share your story in the comments and hit subscribe.